Have you ever thought or considered that you may be a sociopath?
Hello friends, it's me. Thanks for coming back. Got some merch on. Merch here with a cup. All good. I make daily videos, hopefully you know that, on mental health, personal development, and all the kind of groovy stuff in the middle of that to hopefully to help you to change your mind, change your life. And if you want to follow my journey on that and come along for the ride, all you lovely, gorgeous people, I can see you out there. Almost Daz hands then.
Wait, what?
Then don't forget to smash that subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you know exactly when I'm releasing a new video. Okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty of this video. Could you be a sociopath?
I don't know.
To answer this quite odd question, we need to establish what a sociopath actually is. Firstly, we need to introduce the elephant in the room here, which is not literally, it's just over there, out of sight, off camera. Sociopath versus psychopath. There's so many references to Daz hands here, here, and here. Get the merch. Link in description. Blatant plug. The difference between these two things is very, very important because I think often we hear in the media, films, etc. about psychopaths and possibly sociopaths, and generally the two seem to be interchangeable with how most people refer to them. I want this video to really break apart maybe some misunderstandings and some misconceptions of what a sociopath is.
That's really interesting.
So as I said, media portrays psychopaths as this kind of crazy, just violent serial killer type thing.
Here's Johnny!
And yes, yeah, that's not completely incorrect, but it's not the whole story.
Is this one of those stories?
Now, despite psychopaths and sociopaths having a lot of similarities between them, including a lack of empathy, there are actually many differences between the two. And one of the biggest differences is the fact of whether or not they have a conscience. Now, apparently a psychopath doesn't have a conscience, whereas a sociopath has a conscience, but it's very small or weak. Also, in general, psychopaths will learn the required behaviour to fit into social situations and relationships, whereas sociopaths won't. They'll quite blatantly make it clear that they're not interested in other people's feelings or anything about them.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Now, of course, I'm not here to give you a breakdown in great detail between psychopaths and sociopaths. What I want to do is just basically give a bit of a background to start with, that there is a difference. And now I want to talk about sociopathic tendencies and break them down and go through them and really see, firstly, do I have any of these tendencies, and maybe you can follow one and see if you do too. Now, I'm going to keep a tally on the screen of how many of these I have, and let's see, it may not go well. I may have to be sort of locked up, but let's see how I do and let's see how you do. Firstly, being manipulative. Can't say manipulative. Firstly, being manipulative. Sociopaths generally don't recognise the boundaries and the rights of other people. They'll think that their own behaviour and the way they're doing things that serves them is totally okay and it's all totally fine. Now, I don't really have this trait. Maybe some people think I do, but I can see maybe on occasion I've been like this, but you know, it's generally no. So I'm going to say half to this one, really, but mainly for me, not this one at all. Secondly, delusions of grandeur. So sociopaths can think that they're entitled to things and that the world almost owes them something or position, whether it's financial or other, and just feel that they're destined for something great and that's how life should be for them. I do have this. Hands up. I didn't necessarily think before I looked into this that it was perhaps a sociopathic tendency. I just thought it was sort of positivity and having a drive to achieve things, but it appears that it is a trait of sociopaths. So tick this one. I do have this. Let's move on. So next one is pathological lying. They have no issue with constantly lying, making things up, being completely dishonest. However, they can almost always pass a lie detector test. So they're so good at it and so good at lying and so calm with it, and it's not a stressful thing, which is probably why they can pass a test, that it's just such a normal thing. And I can happily say that I do not have this at all. Lying is one of the things I absolutely hate, and being deceitful, definitely a 0 on this one.
Good. Mighty good.
Now the next one is interesting. Lack of remorse. Now sociopaths generally will just not care about upsetting or hurting other people in the sort of journey to reaching their end goal. Almost like the end justifies the means. So they'll happily just tread on people or do disservice to people to get what they want. And this is 100% not me at all, because I do feel remorse about things, and I think it's a horrible thing to do. It's fundamentally wrong, and it just does not sit well with me, the whole concept of this. And so, yep, another 0 for me in this one.
Wow.
Number 5 is shallow emotions. So if a sociopath does show some empathy or emotion or positive emotion towards people, it's generally false. It's generally not a real emotion, and it's often with an ulterior motive. So they'll show compassion or show emotion or empathy to someone else to get something, which is almost goes back to the previous point. I can definitely say this is, again, not me. I pride myself on being honest, as Olivia will know. It's a tough one. I hate just being dishonest. So 100% this point is not me at all. The number 7 is poor behavioural control. So again, that sort of not seeing boundaries of other people and just feeling that it's okay to do anything at any point, at anywhere, just not being perhaps aware of other people's limitations or boundaries and just kind of charging forward for their own personal gain. Now unfortunately this is probably something that I do, but I hadn't thought of it in this respect. Just looking at this information has made me realise a few things, because if I see people not quite living up to their potential, or just not doing something that could be amazingly good for them, but they're just not doing it for whatever reason, I, with the intention to encourage and inspire and maybe motivate them to do that, but I can see that what I'm doing is I'm sort of forcing my excitement of that idea onto them, where they may not be bothered about it. And so I'm definitely guilty of steamrolling in on people, saying, oh, you could do this, without really taking much notice of their boundaries and what they really want to do. I can now see how that can come across in this respect. So number 8, irresponsibility. So sociopaths can basically go through life and not take responsibility for things, not care about consequences, and just put the blame on other people and just do stuff. But that just lack of responsibility and lack of taking ownership or taking blame of things. They'll classically just put the blame on everybody else. It's everyone else's fault, not theirs. And I can 100% say that this is not me. I do not, think that it's right to blame other people. I think it's totally important to take ownership and take responsibility for your own actions, at least, and for situations. 100%. So I can categorically say this is not me, this one. This next one, number 9, is a very interesting one, because I didn't think of this in any way of being a sociopathic behaviour trait, but it's using extremely positive words. So just using lots and lots of positive words and woo, and upbeat, and just you're the best, and you can do this, and you're amazing, and all this positivity, not just on themselves but to other people, just really super hyper upbeat. This is a massive trait of being a sociopath.
What?
Now this is where it's interesting, because I kind of do this all the time. This is sort of me. So I'm going to take this one. This is definitely one for me, because it's like sort of worrying, but it's a recognised sociopathic tendency. So yeah. So you can see so far I'm scoring 3.5 out of 9. So I'm just sort of slightly under, or so, halfway to being a sociopath, so it's not as good as I'd hoped, but I suppose it could be worse. Now let me know in the comments how you scored out of these, and whether you've ever thought you have any sociopathic tendencies or ever considered that. And I have another video talking about how important it is to accept yourself and accept things when you have a mental health condition, and you can catch that up here. And if you are enjoying this video and want to follow my journey and come along for the ride, don't forget to hit the like and leave a comment, and smash that like button and hit the bell notification so you know exactly when I'm releasing a new video. Okay, we push on. Using extremely negative words. Ironically, the exact opposite of the last one. Using lots and lots of negativity, so constantly complaining about stuff, but it's using sort of extremely negative words. Not just moaning and complaining, but just sort of everything sort of extreme. And I guess that's the point, it's that over-exaggeration, that's that over-emphasis. Whereas before it was over-exaggeration on positive words, this is over-exaggeration of negative words. So that everything's terrible, it's the worst thing, is a sociopathic trait. And I can happily say this is not me at all, because I'm the positive one.
Well, I'm sure you are.
I don't like your tone.
I'm sure you are.
Now the next one is a kind of weird one. It's really sort of switching personalities. Basically it's going from extreme charm and happiness and lovely to massive threats and arrogant and horrible, and kind of just whacking between those two. But that sort of switching between super aggressive and super horrible and super charming and super nice, that switching over almost without a breath is a trait of being a sociopath. And I can happily say that's not me. I'm pretty much positive all the time. I have their down days. Everyone does. Obviously, suffering from depression and anxiety, you're going to have your down days, but I don't kind of constantly switch between the two. So I happily say it's a 0 on this one for me.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Number 12 is a weird one, and it's infatuation. Now, when I first looked at this, I thought it was about sociopaths become infatuated with things and other people. And I can definitely have some agreements. Agreements? Number 15, sociopaths make up words. I can definitely have some agreements. Agreements? Agree? I definitely agree with this, because I definitely can become very much obsessed with things, and I'm very much sort of a black and white all or nothing person, and yeah, who's super obsessed, like being obsessed with Gemma Stone, obviously. I can relate to that. However, this infatuation, it's not about that. It's basically because of all the potential positive words and the charm and the wonderful way they can carry themselves. A lot of people can easily get infatuated with sociopaths. That's what the infatuation is. It's not sociopaths being infatuated, it's people being infatuated with sociopaths. And so this comes from just their personality and charm and that sort of thing. And so it's a very easy thing to happen. And I don't know on this one. I'm really not sure, because I don't think I've had people infatuated with me. Not that I'm aware of, but probably not. So I'm going to say this is a 0, but sort of I'll give myself half for the fact that I become infatuated and obsessed with things. So I don't know if I'm making that up, but being honest. So I'll whack a half in for that one.
Be quiet, you idiot.
Now the last one, number 13, lucky for some, who knows, is about getting sympathy. Now sociopaths have an amazing skill of playing the victim and just getting bucket loads of sympathy for the stupidest thing by just playing that huge sympathy card, that huge victim card, and can just get all this attention and just people just really helping and wanting to just pile out emotion and cuddle and just all that stuff, because they're so good at playing the victim. And I guess looking at this in a broader sense, this shows how manipulative they can be and how they can get things their own way and play other people for their own needs, basically. I'd like to think this is not me. I probably may have had the odd occasion where this has happened, but I don't consciously do this. So I'm going to take half a point, just because possibly there's been an element of this at some point, but in general this is not me. but I said I'll take half just to be honest and take that.
All right, that's the way it is.
So there's my score, 4.5 out of 13. So it's less than half, which is good. More than I thought originally. I thought there'd be sort of none. I don't consider myself a sociopath. But let me know how you did in the comments. The whole point of this video is to identify a number of sociopathic tendencies and really show how any of us could actually display some of these. You saw how many I have, and you know, anyone could have a certain amount of these. They're not that crazy. Now this means that probably more of us than you originally thought could have sociopathic tendencies to a degree. It just highlights that so many more of us could be on that spectrum, and that it's not such a terrible thing that to be,
Oh my god, it's a sociopath! Ah!
We need to be more open and understanding of people with this personality type or personality trait, because it is just another area of mental health that I think is still stigmatized because of the name and because of media and films and Hollywood and all that sort of stuff that makes it, people sort of think that if you're a sociopath or psychopath, then that's it, you're literally an axe-wielding murderer and serial killer, and that's not the case at all. You know, a huge percentage of people are not. They may have these various character traits which I just discussed, and there are many more, but I wanted to highlight the fact that a lot of the character traits and tendencies of sociopaths are pretty much things that many people have and do, that you probably know. I certainly know. I'm one of them, but I certainly know people who have some of these, if more than me, if not all of them, and they're just sort of normal people. And that's the point. We need to be more understanding and open and not get tied up with names and labels of certain things and be all kind of panicky about them, because it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is a bad person. It just means they've got a type of personality, or that there's a tendencies that they have that can be managed with, whether that's therapy or medication or whatever that is. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean that they're going to come around your house with an axe. So we need to be much more understanding and open and accepting, and more importantly, discuss this sort of thing openly, because then it's going to help people who do have this type of personality or these tendencies to be able to feel it's okay for them to discuss it and get help that they need, so everything ends up all lovely.
Oh yeah.
So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got some fun out of it. And for now, I will say bye-bye. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so down here, and check out my other video down here. Remember, live your best life. See you next time. Bye-bye.